Quran as usual. I will request Brother Abdul Rahman to come forward and recite Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمة إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون ولا تكونوا كالذين تفرقوا واختلفوا من بعد ما جاءهم البينات وأولئك لهم عذاب عظيم يوم تبيض وجوه وتسود وجوه فأما الذين اسودت وجوههم كفرتم بعد إيمانكم فذوقوا العذاب بما كنتم تكفرون وأما الذين ابيضت وجوههم ففي رحمة الله هم فيها خالدون تلك آيات الله نتلوها عليك بالحق وما الله يريد ظلما للعالمين ولله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وإلى الله ترجع الأمور صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah, Brother Abdul Rahman. As we will need much more time for the panel discussion, so we will head straight away for this program. As announced earlier, today's program will be a panel discussion on the topic of ilm, the knowledge, and the importance of knowledge or importance of ilm in Islam. Then how to attain this ilm, how to achieve this ilm in the society like Japan. This is the main topic, and within this topic, under the subtopics, there will be a discussion in which the participants we have requested are Sheikh Abu Hakim Ahmed Maino, please come forward, and then Sheikh Abdul Qadir and Sheikh Abdullah. Briefly, as you all know, Sheikh Abu Hakim Ahmed Maino, all of you know very well. He is very well Islamic, well-known Islamic personality in Japan, Dawah worker, actively involved in the Dawah activities in Japan. He has studied Sharia in Damascus for around 6 years, if I am correct, and then he is actively trying to impart this education or the knowledge which he has attained and achieved to the others in the society in Japan. We have with us today our guest, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, who is a doctor by profession, and he has done PhD in pathology of medicine. But besides that, he has also Ijaza of Al-Quran al-Kareem from Damascus. He is very well in Tajweed al-Quran, Tajweed of Quran, and he is also Hafiz al-Quran. Thank you very much. And we had requested him to help us in summer school project, and he is teaching Tajweed. Alhamdulillah, he and may Allah give him ajr. His wife also, our sister, they are helping us in summer school project and teaching Quran and Tajweed to our children. So he will be also participating in this program. He has also certificate of Sharia in education, from Damascus. Sheikh Abdullah, as all of you know, he has been our Amir also, Amir of Islamic Circle of Japan earlier. He also studied Sharia and Fiqh from Damascus, Syria. For last 4 years he is there. And you will be very glad to know that he has the sanad of Tirmidhi Sharif, which he has learned from some scholar who has learned what you call as tasalsul, by someone who has finally, the link or chain goes up to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. رب زدني علما رب زدني علما رب زدني علما. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. The topic, as I said, is the ilm, knowledge. Its importance in Islam. So I would directly now start this program, and with Sheikh Maino is saying right to me. Let's first understand what ilm means, what knowledge means, fil lugha and istilah. When we talk about knowledge or ilm, what do we want to convey to someone? I would ask Brother Maino to start with this.
ビスミラヒルラヒーム。アスサラムアライクムワラハマトゥラヒワバラカトゥ。中には日本人の同胞の方で、兄弟姉妹の方でこのプログラムをご覧になってくれている方、聞いていてくださる方もいますので、日本語でもやります。まず今日の私たちのトピックは聖なる知識の探求、聖なる知識の探求、イスラームの教えを学ぶこと、そしてそれをこの日本でどのように学ぶかについてです。まず今私に振られたのは、では知識とは一体何なのか、どんな意味のものなのかといったことでしたが、知識とは学問とも言えるもので、先人の積み重ねによって私たちのもとまで、発展してきた、築かれてきたものだと言えると思います。で、特にその聖なる知識といったとき、私たちムスリムにとって聖なる知識とは、至高のアッラーが最後の預言者である預言者ムハンマド様、サララハリワサラム、かの人に授けられたもの、そしてかの人を通して、かの人を通して、預言者ムハンマド様と共に来たサハーバがそれを学び受け、そしてそのサハーバの弟子たちとなったタビウン、預言者ムハンマド様からしたら孫弟子にあたる人たちですね。その人たちがまたそれを受け継ぎ、そしてその人たちに指示した人たちがそれをまた受け継ぎ、そしてその次の人たちに指示した人たちがまたそれを受け継ぎというように、代々世代を超えてその知識というのはあくまでもインフォメーションではありません。知識である以上、魂を伴ったスピリットを伴ったものでなくてはならないわけですね。ですからイスラムでいうその聖なる知識というのは、単なる本の上で学べるもの、今では発達して CD ロムですとか、そのインターネットで書かれているものだけを、字面だけを追って得られるもの、インフォメーションでは決してなくて、先生について、その先生がまたその先生に教わって、その先生が先生の先生に教わってというように代々、世代を超えて、ゆくゆくはサハーバ、そして預言者ムハンマド様アリスラトワサラムにまで伝わる形で代々、その情報、インフォメーションという情報とともに魂を持って受け継がれてきたもの、それを、聖なる知識と呼ぶのだと思います。少なくとも私はそのように理解しています。
Brother Abdullah, would you like to just add a few points in this and little bit briefly explain what he explained?
Brother Ahmad has said that ilm, not only the knowledge or gain knowledge. You can have knowledge through net or read some books or have some CDs or attend some lectures like that. You cannot get the ilm by only these means. An ilm more deep than that. Somebody called it marifa, but somebody called it it is more than marifa. And he said that you can get knowledge like the Prophet ﷺ, he teaches his Sahaba, and his Sahaba they teaches Tabaeen, and then Tabaeen they teaches Taba Tabaeen who came after it. Then this knowledge, how the Sahaba understand this Al-Shar'i from Prophet ﷺ, they try to teach this to Tabaeen and they to Taba Tabaeen, and this from generation to generation it reaches us. So you cannot get only this knowledge through other means, but you have to sit in front of teachers who gain this knowledge from their teachers, and the chain will be to the Prophet ﷺ. That is in brief of what Prophet
Jazakallah. I think that's enough as concerning the definition. I would request Dr. Abdul Qadir to move ahead by explaining us the importance of achieving the importance of learning in perspective of Islam. What importance Islam has given for the acquiring knowledge and for learning. So in terms of Quran and Sharia.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. First, allow me to talk in English because I didn't prepare to perfect اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وتقبلا. In fact, the importance of ilm starts even from the very basic, perhaps principle in Islam, لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Al-Quran Al-Karim says, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, learn, know that there is no other God than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He didn't say لا إله إلا الله. He said, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا الله. It means by ilm, learn by ilm that لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. The matter is not only saying لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. Then of course we all know a lot of hadith about ilm, how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam recommended us to seek ilm. Even in China, he asked us to seek ilm from the very beginning, من المهد إلى اللحد, means from the very simple bed of the baby after his birth till just before internet grade. All that time we are asked to seek ilm, this by recommendation of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also said very frankly, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلم. Seeking for ilm is fard. We said fard. All of us know that there is fard of ibadah, fard of salah and qiyam and hajj, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam adding by his hadith, طلب العلم means seeking for knowledge, فريضة على كل مسلم. Over that, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in long hadith, I take only part of it, العلماء ورثة الأنبياء. Prophets and messengers, they left some wealth, but this wealth is not money, it's not yens or dollars, it is ilm. And the ulama are getting this wealth, so they are the inheritors of the Prophet. Many hadiths Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له طريق إلى الجنة. Who followed a way, or starts or goes in a way just to seek ilm for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will facilitate his way to the paradise, to Jannah. Many other hadiths, al-malaika, angels are in fact just humble to the man who is seeking ilm for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They put their wings just respecting that man who is seeking ilm for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the importance of ilm. And I don't know, perhaps I can continue with it. I don't want to go out of the
But I would at the same time request Sheikh Milo also to add in this, because once we understand the importance, we are Muslim, so we have to understand it, what Islam makes it, why Islam makes it essential to us to learn and to know. So we would like to learn more from Sheikh Maino.
Just allow me to let our Japanese brothers and sisters taste the importance of knowledge in Islam. 日本語でやらせていただきます。とても今シェハブ・パーデルは、とても大切なことを紹介してくれました。まずはコルアンでもفَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ アッラーは決して言いなさい。アッラーの他に神はいないこととは言われてなくて、知りなさいと言われてるんですね。فَعْلَمْ 知りなさいと言われているわけです。アッラーの他に神はないということ。また、預言者ムハンマド様のお言葉はサマンマーハリーのセダン、非常に多くのものがあります。聖なる知識を追い求めること、知識を探求すること、求めることの大切さを促してくれる、教えてくれ、諭してくれるものがいくつも伝わっておりまして、そのいくつかを紹介しますけども、これはアブ・フライラという立派なサハーバの一人で、彼はアイヌストッパといってマシドにおこもりして、マシドに寝泊まりしていた人です。ですから預言者ムハンマド様がマシドに現れるときは必ずそばにいたということで、非常に多くのハディスを、後世にまた彼は長生きしましたので残しています。その人が、イブン・マージャ出典に、よる、これはムスリムですね。イマムスリムの出典として伝えるものですけども、マンサラカ・ファリーカン・ヤリタミス・フィー・イルマン、道を行く人、どんな道を行くか、ヤリタミス・フィー・イルマン、知識を得ようとして、知識を求めようとして道を行く人、そうした人には、サハララブビヒ、サハララブラブビヒ、ファリーカン・イラルジャンナ。そうした人には、アッラーがその人にとって、それによって、何によってかというと、その知識を求めようとすることです。知識を求めようとすること、その行為によって、サハララブラブビヒ、タリーカン・イラルジャンナ。ジャンナへの天国への道をたやすくしてくれるでしょうと教えてくれてるわけですね。ですから、すごいオファーをしてくれてるわけじゃないですか。預言者マンマ様は私たちに、アナトリドナジャンナ、Do you want ジャンナ Do you want paradise? 天国欲しくないですかと問われたらどう答えますか。もちろんです。もちろんジャンナに行きたい。みんなジャンナを望みます。じゃあどうすればいいかすぐ教えてくれてるわけですよ。マンサラカタレーカン、道を行く人は、知識を求めようと道を行く人には、アッラーがその人にとって天国への道をたやすくしてくれるでしょうと。ほら、ここに鍵があるからそれを受け取りなさいと教えてくれているわけです。また先ほど紹介アブシェカブカルが言われた、これはイブン・マージャが、出典するもので、アナス・ブン・マリクラディアンラーアン、サイダ・アナスは預言者ムハンマド様の秘書、secretary. He was a secretary of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for many years, 10 years. So he was very close to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ですから秘書としていつもそばにいた人ですから、非常に多くのものをつまり、学ばれたはずです。その人が伝えてくれるハディスとして、ファラブル・アルミ、知識を求めることはファリーダフンアラクリムスリム。ファリーダというのはファルドですね、義務です。すべての、誰にとって義務と言われてますか。すべてのムスリムにとって義務だと言われているわけです。皆さんご存知の通り、シャハーダから始まってサラー、ザカー、サウム、ハッジ、礼拝からザカー、定めの記者からラマダン時期、インシャアラもうすぐやってきますけれども、ラマダン時期の断食再開、そして巡礼できる人は巡礼といったいわゆるファリーダ、ファルド、義務というのはどうして義務ですか。そもそもどうして義務ですか。大事だからでしょう。大事なもの、大切なもの、私たちのためになるからこそ義務なわけじゃないですか。そうじゃなかったら、至高のアンラーはわざわざ義務にしてまで私たちにそれを命ぜられることは決してなかったはずです。ということは、ファラブル・アイルム、知識を求めることはあらゆるムスリムにとって義務と教えてくれているので、これもまた逃せないほど、みすみす逃すにはとても惜しいものであるぐらいに大切なものだと断言できるわけですね。
Just briefly, I would request Brother Sheikh Abdullah also to the best example for us whenever we have to see what is the ideal for us, that is the Prophet Muhammad in his era. he gave importance to Islam. Allah has given importance to Islam as per the Quranic verses. What Prophet Muhammad did, some examples we would like to know from Sheikh Abdullah, from the Sira, what during the Prophet's time, what they did to improve the ilm and achieve the ilm, and how he took the measures.
Brothers in Islam, Allah Ta'ala said in His holy book, Al-Quran Al-Kareem, Surah Fatir, Ayah 28, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Which means, يَخْشَى اللَّهَ إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Allah Ta'ala said that among His servants, the fear of Allah, those ulama, the scholars, or those who have the knowledge, they are indeed, they have the fear of Allah. So when the Prophet ﷺ came, you know, at that time, there were two big empires, one was in the north, one was in the south of Arab, Rome and Persia. They were at their peak, but in knowledge, in justice, and in the government, in many fields, they were going down. Maybe like army, they may be at the peak, but in other grounds they were going down. And in Arab, where the Ummah, they don't know how to read, how to write. Only few people they knew how to read and how to write. Then Allah has sent a deen which starts with the orders to read, and Prophet ﷺ, they start teaching, and the knowledge came from Allah, and it was the best knowledge at that time on earth. So those people who took that knowledge, Allah has given them the keys to open all the gates of the world, and Allah has conquered for them all the world. From Indonesia to Morocco, they spread during the first 100 years only. And Prophet ﷺ, brothers, we know, not only in Mecca he was teaching, in Dar al-Arqam, that was the first school for Muslims to teach, and then in Masjid Nabawi, that was the second school until the death of Prophet ﷺ. It was the second school. Prophet ﷺ has established two schools where he teaches Sahaba further. And after this, also when Sahaba spread throughout the world of Islam, somebody goes to Kufa, somebody goes to Syria, somebody goes to Egypt, somebody goes to Iraq or Persia or other cities, they all open those type of school and they teach, and those people then they took that message and they spread to the other parts of the world. And this knowledge also teaches us like this. We came here from almost all of us, they are outside from Japan. So we took this knowledge from our country. But when we came here, then the knowledge what we had, if this is the perfect knowledge of Islam, we should have to transfer this knowledge to these people. And if unfortunately if this knowledge is incomplete, then we have to complete, and we have to support our Japanese brothers to have the correct knowledge of Islam and to go through this way which we knew from our childhood. And this country is very much late to know about Islam. Maybe we are also, this is our fault that we could not bring this message, we or our ancestors, they could not bring this message earlier and tell them about the knowledge of Islam.
Briefly to add, the example of prisoners of Badr. At that time, Prophet Muhammad asked those who were knowing, who had learned, asked them to transfer this knowledge or asked them to teach the Sahaba, read and write. And Prophet Muhammad established, as he said, two schools in Makkah, Dar al-Arqam and Madinah. It was a school as well as a masjid. Then established Sufa. A lot of examples are there. Prophet Muhammad asked one Sahaba to learn Ibrani, the language of Yahud. So all those examples are there, said by Prophet Muhammad. Moving to our next point, which is related to learning and attaining the knowledge. Now the point comes, which knowledge we should prioritize to learn for ourselves. When we have a kid, we think of him which stream I put him, engineering, medicine, trade, Jera, or I would like to make him an artist, I would like to make him this and this and this. There are various fields. Now, as a Muslim for us, the question comes, what branch of ilm or what type of ilm is important to us to prioritize to learn? So, I would request Sheikh Abdul Qadir to start with it, and then brother Sheikh Abu Maino to add in this.
I was waiting for this question. I wanted to say just a few minutes and you asked. But now ilm, the word ilm, at the very beginning, as my brother Sheikh Ahmad Maino said, means knowledge in general. But later on, after Islam comes, the word has the meaning of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then after that, the word more developed and it refers now, when we find it in books of teaching Islam, it refers to knowing about ilm, for example, aqidah and ibadah and fiqh and muamala with Allah and muamala with people, that dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and dealing with people and so on. And in fact, now we know, now ulama are classifying ilm into two branches: beneficial ilm and non-beneficial ilm. Good knowledge, beneficial knowledge for human beings, and harmful knowledge for human beings. Harmful, for example, just as an example, learning how to practice magic, for example, and this means dealing with jinn or something like this. This is harmful. It is forbidden for Muslims to learn. Something like magic, practicing magic, how to harm somebody, how to, and such all these things harmful and it's haram for Muslims to learn. The good ilm, the good knowledge also is divided into two. One is called, let's call them knowledge, sciences of this life, sciences of life and sciences of Sharia. Sciences of life and sciences of Sharia, both of them are beneficial for human beings and for Muslims. Now, when the word ilm, Rasulullah ﷺ, he said, when Rasulullah ﷺ said, اطلبوا العلم ولو في الصين, seek for ilm even in China. Of course, Rasulullah ﷺ knows that there is no fiqh and there is no ilm of ibadah in China and there is no ilm of Sharia in China. Rasulullah ﷺ said, seek for ilm. That's why some ulama said Rasulullah ﷺ didn't certify or just like very restricted the ilm to the meaning of Sharia, praying and Hajj and Zakah and so on. Every ilm, the Islamic nation needs his ilm for Islam, and his ilm is enrolled under the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ. Now, so it's not only to learn how to perform prayer and to recite Quran and know ahkam of tajweed and know how, for example, halal and haram, and there are a part of ilm that we are in fact asked to push our children even to learn. Imagine that all our children became imam of masjid. So what are we going to do if some engineer, some kind of construction, we need some construction, we need to import it from America or from some place where perhaps we don't know how are going to make it. Or if we need in very special, very delicate or very accurate specialization in medicine or in computer or in any other astronomy and all these things that we are not developed, unfortunately our Islamic nations are not developed in. We are importing this knowledge from outside. This is our fault, and this is the responsibility of Muslims who in fact ignore seeking for ilm of this life. So the ilm, as we mentioned, two branches after we excluded the non-beneficial and the harmful ilm, two branches: sciences of life, including medicine, astronomy, computer, and this informatics, and the other part is for ilm of Sharia. Now, if we say now, I want my son, what he is going to be in future. First of all, what we mentioned that before, the first responsibility of father towards his child to make him as a good Muslim beneficial for his ummah and for spreading word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the earth. This is a very, very, very big responsibility that each father and mother will be responsible in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about the manner that his child between his hands. If on the judgment day you are asked what you do with your son, I just make him a machine to gather money, or I taught him how to collect money, or this is not enough. Did you make your, the very beginning, were you believer, good believer, and did you convey this belief from your heart to the heart of your son or not? This is very big responsibility. So I want my child to be one good Muslim. Good Muslim, good believer. After that, if he's a medical doctor, and at the same time he's a good believer, he's teaching others to be good medical doctors, because this is very, very much. If you are dreaming of your child, for example, perhaps some brothers dream of their child to be alim of Sharia. This is not. Others dreaming of your child to be a good, in fact, to get Nobel Prize, but at the same time be good believer, be good Muslim. To know how everything about Islam that's needed to defend for Islam in front of ulama, in front of scientific scholars who are arguing with evidence and arguing with mind and so on. So again, we are dividing it into two, let's say, purposes. I want my son to be alim of Sharia, or to be a good Muslim in the society and a good believer, and have the sense of spreading da'wah and word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first one, in fact, we need to send our child to some madrasa of Sharia, and now madrasa of Sharia, even they are teaching their students some of physics and some of chemistry and some of astronomy, because they know the very big defect in the alim or imam of masjid to have, let's say, point of weakness in science of physics or astronomy or something. He should know at least the guidelines, the baseline of these sciences. They are very important. Now the other one, and this is the fact I want to concentrate on. Now, mashallah, children I saw in summer school, they are in fact, let's say, our treasure, as one Japanese word I call, they are our treasure of da'wah. Because they are our dream of da'wah in Japan, these children. So after, let's say, 20 years, these will be the face of Islam in the society. They need to consult each other about medical problems. One lady, for example, she is pregnant and she wants to know she needs to fast in Ramadan or not to fast. The first one to consult is the Muslim doctor. So if she doesn't find Muslim doctor around here in the society, it's a big problem. We need a Muslim doctor who is living in Japan as Japanese, who has full knowledge in medicine and good knowledge, let's say minimum knowledge of Sharia, of when to fast and how to judge it is good for this woman to fast or no, it's better to break fast, for example. This is very important. After 2 years, we need some engineers from Japan to design our mosque, inshallah. So if all our children are imams or are something, we are going to import again some engineers. In fact, Islamic society, he needs to depend on his own sons, his own children. So when you dream of your child to be a medical doctor or a good man of society, at the same time, there's a part of Sharia very important. Of course, by the way, there is part of ilm, Sharia, which is necessary for each Muslim, no matter what he is working, no matter how he is working. For example, knowing about La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah as aqidah is fard ayn. Fard ayn means no Muslim is excused to ignore learning about La ilaha illallah, evidence of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. This is fard ayn. No Muslim is excused to not to know how to make wudu perfectly, and questions about wudu. No Muslim is excused or forgiven to say, I didn't know how to pray. everybody is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah and prayer. When it is time to make zakah, he needs to know about zakah. He needs to learn. He can start to know about zakah. When he needs to go to perform hajj, he needs to learn about hajj. Siyam, everybody needs to go about siyam. Fard ayn for each Muslim. So this part, we should agree on it. Every child should learn it. Now after that, a little bit more. This child is a medical doctor. In his department, he is studying scientific sciences, and he is, in fact, if he is concentrating, he can find evidence of ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, evidence of the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his department. He is not praying, he is not in the mosque. He is in his department, in university, studying medical science, and saying subhanallah for this science. He says this could never be done by other than Creator. He needs to pick this evidence and keep them with him as some kind of weapons when he enters some discussion with non-believer or somebody who tries to attack at Islamic side or something. So everybody has this minimum fard ayn of Sharia, wudu, salah, siyam, and when it is related hajj and zakah. Over that, there is some kind of sense, some kind of being keen, always, some kind of background, care about Islam at all the time. This will push him to learn this more, to learn something more about, for example, Aqidah, how to discuss with non-believers. It will push him to learn something more about Quran Kareem. If somebody told him this book is just written by Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Your prophet, you call him Muhammad, he wrote it, and he just conveyed it to you, and you believe you are following somebody you don't know. He needs to know about that. This is his responsibility. So above fard ayn for each Muslim, there is a kind of ilm that he should be pushed to listen for it by the father and mother. In addition to his science that he is studying, engineering or computer science, medicine and anything. Now this is, as we mentioned, is different if your dream that your son will be totally pure Islamic scholar that knows perfectly about Quran, perfectly about Sunnah, perfectly about Hajj and, for example, rules of how to distribute the weight after death of somebody and all this. This is different now. It's special preparation. I would like to talk, in fact, mainly about that. Let's say the majority of people, what we are imagining they are going to be, inshallah, in Japan. I will get to talking to.
Jazakallah, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, very briefly, and he has explained almost everything on this point. But I would request Sheikh Maino to add something more into it. And after that, we'll take two questions from the audience. So if anybody has a question, we'll give chances to others later on. But halfway we are through. So one or two questions we'll take after Sheikh Maino has finished.
That's my question from Father. He just explained to us the whole picture of the knowledge and how should we seek forward. But I have some comments on it. Let me go on in Japanese. 今、シェイクアップ・パーデルはとても総合的な形でそのイスラムにおける知識の地位といいますか、学問の地位といいますか、またその分類ですね、どんな学問、どんな知識があって、どのようなものが求められるのが望ましいのかといったことを、総合的な形で、包括的な形で説明してくれました。英語のわからなかった方のために、念のために申し上げておきますが、世の中には簡単に言うと良い知識と悪い知識、人のためになる知識と人のためにならない知識というのがあって、当然例えばマジックですとか、占いですとか、そういった人を惑わすような、ものに関わる知識、情報といったものは人のためにならないものですから、ムスリムとしてはそれを学ぶことは許されないことなわけですね。一方、人のためになる知識、学問には2通りありまして、それはいわば、この世界に関わる知識、学問全般、化学、その科学から、生物学、数学から地理学からさまざまな政治学ですから、さまざまなものがありますけれども、そういった学問、世俗的な、その世界にまつわる学問、 そしてシャリア、つまりイスラームの教えに関わる学問です。その2通りのものがあると。で、ここで非常に大切なことを述べられたのですが、ムスリムというのはそれを共同体レベルで見た場合、理想的には自給自足できるのが理想の形なわけですね。自給自足、つまり私たちムスリムだけで他のそのムスリムでない人たちに頼らずとも生きていけるような社会を築くこと、それが理想の形なわけです。である以上、みんながみんなマスジドのイマームさんになってしまっては、何ですか、お米を植える人ですとか、そのパンを、作る人ですとか、物を作る人ですとか、そういった社会生活に必要なものを、満たしてくれる人がいなくなってしまうということで、片手落ちなりその不十分な形となるので、それはまずいということで、ムスリムが共同体として、ここでそのチームワークの大切さが求められてくるわけですけれども、それぞれその社会で必要とされる分野でプロフェッション、その専門的な仕事を持ち、同時にまたムスリムとして、一個人のムスリムとして最低限必要なシャリアのイスラムの教えの知識も習得しているというのが、最低限望ましい形だというふうに説明してくれました。ごもっともです。その通りです。本当に私たちにはファルドアインと今説明ありましたけれども、つまり個人義務、老若男女、どんなに病気であっても、あるいは年老いていても、ムスリムであれば個人一人一人が義務として課せられるもの、そうしたものとファルズキファーや共同体全体ですね。私たちのムスリムのウンマ、小さいものから大きいものまで共同体全体に課せられる義務とがあるわけです。その2通りのファルドについては皆さんよくご存知でしょう。でそれで考えていく限り、その理想のムスリム社会を目指せば当然、ここで私は少し意見が異なります。 Here I have a little different point of view from Sheikh Father concerning the knowledge for our children and for coming brothers and sisters here in Japan、というのは、理想の社会、私たちはまだムスリムとしてこの日本という社会では本当に黎明期にあります。つまり日が昇る前で、ムスリムは超が何個つくんでしょう。超マイノリティですね。ものすごいマイノリティです。ですから私たちが今一番直面している最も大きな課題は何ですか。それはムスリムとしてのアイデンティティ喪失なわけです。ムスリムとしてのアイデンティティ喪失、ムスリムとしてのアイデンティティを失ってしまうことなわけですね。ですから皆さんもいろんな話ご存知でしょう。ムスリム同胞として、ムスリム兄弟姉妹としていろんな国からやってきて、皆さん歓迎しますけれども、日本で長年暮らして、で子供さんも大きくなっているけども、気づいてみたらあら大変、自分のその人の私たちの兄弟姉妹のお子さんがどっちかというとムスリムらしいんではなくて日本人らしくなってしまっている。日本人らしくなってしまっている。つまりムスリムとしてのアイデンティティを失ってしまっているわけですね。So the biggest challenge that we are facing now here in this society is losing the identity as a Muslim, losing Islamic identity, losing Muslim identity. So in front of this biggest challenge in front of us, of course, encouraging all the children to become profession in some medicine or the engineering or whatever, this is very necessary, but at this stage, in my opinion, it is very a talk of talking about ideal before solving this biggest challenge. Because what we need to emphasize on is how to solve this biggest challenge of losing the Muslim identity. In front of that, we need to let people know, let Muslims know truly that becoming knowledgeable in Islam is very, beautiful, very wonderful, something very cool that everyone, wants to be like. Everyone longs to be for. Otherwise, if every Muslim have a wish for their children to be a doctor or to be an engineer only before attaining the solid knowledge in Islam, the people will lose their identity as a Muslim. I fear that. ですので、まず私たちが直面している問題はムスリムとしてのアイデンティティを失ってしまうこと。そのためにはムスリムとして何よりもイスラームです。何よりもイスラーム命、つまりイスラーム命を体現している人たちは誰ですか？どんな人たちですか？ウラマーですよ。ウラマームスリミーンですよ。イスラム学者、イスラムの先生たちですが、もちろん世界何十億というムスリムがいて、学者先生ではなくとも、実はアッラーの身元では非常に、位の高い、本当に信仰の深い人もいるでしょう。もちろんです。でも正面切ってその人の人生としてイスラム命を、真っ向から生きる人たちというのはイスラムを常にずっと教え続けている、コルアンの先生からイスラムの先生たちなわけじゃないですか。ですから私たちの子供に対して、次の世代、次の人たちに対してそのようにイスラムを専門的に学び、でそのようにイスラムをまた、ずっと次の人に、次の世代に教えていくというとても尊い仕事が、尊い使命が、実は何ですか、大したことない、軽んじられるものであり続けては、今は残念ながらそうなってしまっているわけですよね。残念ながら今では皆さんお国に帰ってもお子さんがもし特に賢かったらどうですか？賢くて勉強がとてもよくできる。で、学校の先生たちに、お父さんお母さん、お子さんとても成績が良くてとても優秀です。将来どんな職業に就くことを望まれますか？ぜひ医者になってもらいたいですねとかですね、エンジニアがいいですねとか、そうじゃなくてもちろんそれも大事ですよ、それも必要ですけども、今ここの特に日本で必要なのは正面切ってイスラム命で頑張ってくれる人が一人でも多く必要なわけです。ですから少なくともそういった人たちを、そういった次の人たちを少なくとも、10人、20人、100人とは言わないですけども、10人、20人確保するまでは、確保できない、確立するまでは、いわゆる理想論を求める余裕は私たちにはないんじゃないかなと思うのが率直なところです。So before assuring that we have people next to us, we have people coming after us, that certainly inshallah they would hold this deen tight, solid, without braving, shaking, and then perhaps failing into losing the identity as a Muslim. Before assuring the existence of those scholars, Muslim scholars, like a number of 10, 20, I don't say hundreds. Before assuring those our next hope, I think it's very speaking about the ideology only, to go for, let's encourage our children to go for engineering, the medicine or whatever. Because what we need is to spread the image and understanding that to live for the sake of Allah, to live for the sake of Islam is important. And people who are, vividly through their life achieving this work, this holy work of bringing the message of Islam is our life, is Muslim scholars, right? So I don't say we need hundreds, but we need at least 10.
Jazakallah, as you can feel the spirit of Sheikh Maino how strong feelings he has that the roots of Islam have to be established in the society in Japan. That's why he's saying, leave everything first, we concentrate on what I understood, on attaining the Islamic knowledge. But I would request briefly before we take the question to Sheikh Abdullah, how does he strike the balance between the view and opinion of Sheikh Abdul Qadir and Sheikh Maino? How to balance both the things at the same time simultaneously? And just briefly after that we'll take the question.
A very short comment on this, and not argument for argument. I think what Brother Ahmad has said, this is the challenge which is just now in front of us. We are facing this challenge. And what Brother Khalid has said, those are the challenges which we have to face after pass inshallah this challenge successfully. We have to face those challenges. So with respect to both brothers, I think if we don't have the target, the end in our sight, we cannot have a good start. Maybe we start and we lose our way, because if we don't have the target where we have to have end. So what Brother Qadir has said, that will be the end inshallah, and what Brother Ahmad has said, that is the start inshallah. We will have in our mind what will be the ending point inshallah, and we will start from what we have to do now inshallah. So I hope inshallah we will not lose our way, and we will have a good healthy Muslim community here in Japan inshallah.
In fact, I agree with Brother Ahmad Maino with all what he said, but I was taking, as Brother Abdullah said, I was giving the long prospect. And then another thing, when I said talked about medicine and engineering and this, I wanted to say one important thing. We are not here today to say to all of you that, for example, your child, whatever he done in his school, this is not important. In his Japanese school, you should, for example, just concentrate on the Sharia school and so on. I wanted to say that all what we are doing is good if the father understands his responsibility. You know that this son is not only going to be medicine, it's not bad to be a medical doctor, and it's not enough to be only a medical doctor. I wanted to say like this. So why he is studying? No, that he is studying, okay, to be a medical, but he needs also to have his responsibility as a Muslim. That's why I wanted to say that we are not calling now, we are not studying today to say, send all your children to Madrasa of Sharia and let them, for example, just leave the Japanese school. We are not. That's what I wanted to try to say. So while they are learning, they are going in their grades up and up, inshallah, in their school, they can say, as Brother Ahmad Mai, they have the responsibility of Sharia. Some of them, after graduation, he will decide by himself to be alim. We have, inshallah, this 10 or 20 alim we need, inshallah. The others, it doesn't mean that they have no responsibility. The others also have their responsibility. This part of Sharia, over it, there is responsibility of me know that he is now representing very important part of Islam in this Japan. Because as Brother Muhammad said, we are minority. Every one of us has a great value. So he will be whatever he is, no matter he is scientific, life scientific, or alim of Sharia, he needs to be in his responsibility. So I don't find any disturbance in fact.
もともとおっしゃる通り、なんて言いますか、そもそも私も、セカンドパートの意見に同意した上で、ここでこの日本で強調しておきたいことをあえて強調させていただいたものですから、セカンドパートが非常に上手にうまくまとめてくれましたけれども、最初にシェカムカールが話してくれたことというのは、いわば最終的な目標として私たちがいつか目指したいこと、少しずつでも遠くとは言いません、近い将来でも結構です、目指したいことで、私がお話特に強調させていただいたのは、今取り掛からないといけないことです。ですので、でまた今とても大事なことを教えてくれましたけれども、この日本で超マイノリティとしてムスリムとして生活している以上、私たち皆さん一人一人がイスラム大使なんですよ。イスラム大使 アンバサダー・オブ・イスラムなんですね。皆さん一人一人が、each one of you, each one of us。ですから、で、預言者ムハンマド様の言葉としても有名なものがあるでしょう。皆さんご存知の通りです。バッリゴアンニワラウアーヤ、バッリゴアンニワラウアーヤ。たとえアーヤ一つであっても、コラーンの一節一つであっても、私について伝えてくださいと。伝えなさい、伝えてくださいと諭してくれてるわけですね。ですから、イスラームを次の人に伝えるというのは、決して、しっかりと何十年も何年もイスラームを専門的に勉強しなければした後でなければダメだというのでは決してなくて、ほんの少しでも預言者ムハンマドさんはかつてこんな優しいお方だったアレイヒサラトワッサラム、どんなことでも結構ですから、それを伝えるのが私たち一人一人の責任であり使命なんですね。So this is our least responsibility and mission, and a very important holy mission upon each one of us, each one of you, each one of us, to deliver the message. Rasulullah was dyingly wishing to be delivered to the whole world, right? And since you are here in Japan, since we are here in Japan, it is our duty and mission to deliver the message to the people of this land as much as possible. By what? By how? もちろんその方法としてはこれからの話なんでしょうね。じゃあやめておきましょう。Thank you very much.
Jazakallah, some of the people who have come from faraway places, so they might have to use the train. But there are a couple of important points, so we will conclude them inshallah briefly, not elaborating them. If anybody has question, as I said earlier, we will take some questions from you. Any question? Yes.
So I think that we are talking about our.
Some others are listening.
I think that we are talking about our children, but there is a very bad thing going on, that our adults also don't know much about the religious knowledge. They come from different backgrounds. So what our children can teach can be learning in his home, and our families have no knowledge or very little knowledge about the Islam. So if our family unit is not in connection with the knowledge, how can we think about establishing some system? So I think that we should be thinking about our adults too. What about their knowledge gaining?
Jazakallah, I think it's not a question but a comment that whenever we start discussion on the ilm or knowledge, we start commenting on the children, forgetting about the adult generation ilm of that. It's a very good question, brother. Yeah, there are some points which will come forward in this session. Yeah.
My question goes to Dr. Abdul Qadir. Just mentioned some sweet and tolerable ilm for the Muslim, right? But it's a clear cut that Lord or Muhammad doesn't discriminate between the sexes. Anywhere you say Muslim, you say Muslima. Mumina or Mumin or Mumina, right? Right. There's something going on among Muslim society these days. Not only maybe some people go back to Afghanistan or Taliban, some ideology. So some people are stopping women, forbidding women of education, depriving women of education. It's clear. Even African countries, Nigeria, Ghana, we have the northern part. They don't allow women or girls to go to school. In fact, I want you to make it clear. How does we respond to this kind of action, this idea?
Jazakallah, in one sentence I can put this question as that ilm for women in Islam, and how does Islam prohibit it, or are there any?
That's a very important question. But I don't know our brothers or our brothers in other countries on what they depend in prohibiting their daughters or their wives even to learn. But we have many things in Sunnah, many hadith of Rasulullah. This one report of the hadith, every Muslim and Muslimah. Some of report of hadith, every Muslim. But even if it is said every Muslim, it doesn't mean the male. It's not restricted to the male. Many times Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says mu'min, but he means all believers, no matter males or females. In many hadiths of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's exclude that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made women, they came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they told him, oh Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the men has exhausted, has consumed all the thawab from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They took all the thawab and they didn't left anything for us. Make some majlis ilm, meeting for ilm for us, for women. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded and he made one majlis ilm for women. Some of women were coming to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asking questions, and sometimes very embarrassing questions. And they were asking questions really very brave. Rasulullah, after time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was Alima means a female scholar, was Darda al-Sughra. She was teaching in Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, Alima. And one of her students sometimes were Abdul Malik bin Marwan, the Khalifa, or her children, or something like this. So I don't know why. Really strange to know that some brothers are forbidding their Sa'id bin Musayyib, one of the very important parents. His daughter was Alima. Many examples in our Islam and in our history about female learning, about female teaching. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one hadith he said that the man who has at that time, of course there was a system of slavery, who has a slave female, he keeps her, he grows her with ilm, as she grows, becomes has the ilm, and then he gets married to her. I'll end him like this in paradise. أنا وهو كهاتين في الجنة. I am and him like this in paradise. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I don't know, in fact, I didn't reach anything that don't let females learn, or don't forbid them from learning, or keep them at home, or something. I don't know on what they depend. May Allah just send us and send them, let's say, the knowledge, the real knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Can I just simply remind very simple fact. I don't think I will be too exaggerated if I say 2/3 of our deen were taught by Sayyidah Aisha. Many, especially family issues related to very important teaching of Islam, was being taught, reported by who? By our mother, al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha. Right? If she was not there, if she was not the knowledgeable, learned person, we have been lost many important things. とても女性が学ぶことが、時としてイスラムを誤解する人たちによって、禁じられたり、あるいは、嫌がられたりする傾向がちらほら伺えたりしますけれども、それを是正するといいますか、それが本当かどうか確かめるのにとても簡単な歴史的事実がありますね。それは私たちの教え、信仰、イスラームの教えの半分以上、その3分の2と言っても過言ではないと思います。半分以上を教えてくれたのは、伝えてくれたのは誰ですか？信徒たちの母であるアイシャ様でしょう。彼女がいなかったら、彼女が、知識に富むとても聡明な方でいなかったら、私たちのその教え、大事な部分の多くが失われていたわけですね。ですからとてもシンプルな簡単な事実として、私たちのもとには女性も誰であれムスリムは知識を求めることが勧められているんだと胸を張って言えると思います。
Jazakallah. So, 15 minutes more if we continue it to conclude it. Is that okay or are you okay?
If you
are asking like this, nobody.
Then I would request the panel to please briefly, for the next 3 points, I will cut down 1 point and just briefly go through these points as short as possible, but convey the message. The most important point of this discussion, today's discussion, we are living in a society like Japan.
I have a question.
We'll take question later on.
Okay.
Next 2 questions are over. So we'll take next question. The important thing is we are living in a society like Japan, and here everybody claims, everything is available except time. Now the point comes, if anything short in Japan, that is time. How we will attain this knowledge, or how we will learn Sharia living in Japan where the resources are few? I would like to Brother Abdullah to start with on this.
This is very hard really, because if you want to get something, you have to sacrifice some things for that. And I tried my best to learn the deen of Allah, but I could not avoid the journey, and I have to leave Japan for 4 years. So if somebody wants that he wants to gain the most important thing for himself and for his life here and for his life hereafter, he has to sacrifice some things. We are sacrificing many things for that, and we know all our day to gain some of our necessities. But with all these necessities, there is something much more important than that. So we have to divide our time. We have to have some time. We have to organize ourselves. We have to make some groups, and we have to look for ulama here, and we have to sit with them. We have to start studying tafsir with somebody. Brother Ahmad, alhamdulillah, he has finished his study. Brother Abdul Qadir is here, also he is in Fukushima. Or there are many ulama, inshallah you will find. And of course, inshallah, there are many who are studying, somebody in Saudi, somebody in Syria, somebody in Egypt, and they will be coming back. We can have some time to understand the Quran, the letter of Allah, the message of Allah for you, and the tafsir we have to understand with it. At least once we have to read this Quran with some teacher who can explain us its tafsir, so we can understand what is the message of Allah towards us. And at least once you have to read Prophet ﷺ's life, not like a small small booklet, not in a small booklet, how he lived his life, what he said, his hadith. At least once, Sahih Sitta, we need to read in our life. Only 6 books. Only 6 books. Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and Tirmidhi and Dawud and Nasai and Majah, and if possible, and Muslim Ahmad or Muwatta Imam Malik, if possible. At least once we have to sit and we have to read a book of fiqh, so we could know what is tahara, how we can have tahara, what is ibadah, how we have to perform our ibadah properly, and what is ma'amlat. We know many things about tahara and ibadah, but we don't know our give and take, buy and sell. Many mistakes we are doing, and unfortunately I am seeing many things that they are haram openly, and they are clear in Islam that they are haram, but people are involved in those things in the society. So we have to sacrifice some of our time. We have to look for some people. We have to sit with them. We have to make some small groups, and at least once in our life we have to read Quran, Tafsir, or Hadith, or Fiqh. So we know that how we have to live our life properly.
Jazakallah. Now, my last question to Sheikh Abdul Qadir is, just briefly describe us, after we attain the ilm, after learning, what are the hukukul ilm as per Sharia, and what are the hukuk we will be having obliged to for after attaining the ilm, after achieving it. Then lastly, we will request Sheikh Mohammed to conclude this program with touching the point how to pass on this ilm or this knowledge to our next generation, who will be the torchbearers of Islam in Japan. First Sheikh Abdul Qadir and then Sheikh.
First, when you anybody would like to learn anything, like whether Abdullah said read or have a book or read, first of all purify your heart for any niyyah to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am not reading this book to sit in the mosque and answer the questions of the people of like this conference and become, for example, or just to argue against Muslims and to show my ilm. For if Allah, all that, dear brothers, is sometimes like a dark shadow will be on your face in the judgment day. Put it aside. Number one, I am learning totally for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to know how to continue my life as a good Muslim. Forget about any other niyyah. This is number one. As Imam I think Imam Abu Hanifa said, طلبنا العلم لغير الله فأبى العلم أن يكون إلا لله. It happened that some of ulama, they started their life going to mosque to learn in ilm, majalis ilm, to just guarantee their life, their living as salary or after that they forgot about this. This is something very, in fact, very cheap to think about the life, getting this ilm for living, for cost of living, to eat and drink and have children and wives. This is very bad to think about that. They forget about that and the niyyah becomes totally to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طلبنا العلم لغير الله فأبى العلم أن يكون إلا لله. Otherwise, the way of ilm will be blocked in your face. If you don't purify your niyyah from the very beginning, the way of ilm will be stopped in front of you. Shaitan will make, because your niyyah has some kind of contamination for sake of for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan knows very, very professionally how to enter and stop you from continuing any kind of ilm. This is number one. After that, after learning the ilm, if you don't practice the ilm, you will forget. Or at least nobody will see that you are, in fact, let's say, qualified to teach. If you don't practice what you are learning, then you are not learning. If you practice what you learn, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens more doors for ilm for you. من عمل بما عمل علمه الله ورزقه الله علم ما لم يعلم. It means who practices his knowledge, what he learns, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him as rizq. Something he didn't imagine that he will learn. He didn't know that he will learn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens the door more and more for you. So number one, the niyyah for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, practicing what you are learning. You should be the first one, and I'm saying to myself, I should be the first one to practice, for example, sunnah after prayer. If I am teaching prayer of sunnah, I should be the first one who begs for sadaqah if I teach about sadaqah, and so on. You know, once Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu, he was teaching book of fiqh, he reached some chapter of sadaqah. He stopped. He said, for example, next week there is no lesson for his students. Then he consumed after some time. He was asked, why did you stop? He said, I didn't have money to make sadaqah. I cannot teach sadaqah, chapter of sadaqah, if I don't have money to make sadaqah. How I am teaching something I am not doing? So he stopped the teaching. He got some money, made sadaqah, then he teach the chapter of sadaqah after that. After you got the knowledge, now you have the responsibility to teach. Even as now Brother Ahmad Maino, the very famous hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Convey my words to the people, convey my explanation of Quran Kareem, anything I say to the people, even explanation of one verse, even one word of me. Convey to the people. You learn something, don't let it stop at you. Teach it to others. Convey it to others. Just hand it to others. Wallahi. And as Ali radiallahu anhu said, everything, when you spend it, it decreases. It becomes less and less. You have $100 and you spend 10, it will become 90. Okay. Except ilm. When you spend more, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives more of ilm, and so on. So, niyyah, practicing, teaching the others, and in fact, ask always for tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
We would love to continue the discussion. I think everybody is interested, but time is very short and we have already crossed 15 minutes. There was some brother with some question.
Yeah, it's me.
Just briefly, if you can tell your question.
My short question is concerning about our target, our children or our juniors that growing coming. Right now, really for Islam in Japan, we are not so strong. For instance, like our education and the rest of kind of activities which is going on in our life. For instance, our juniors, that those who are attending a school, in a Japanese school, actually we know the Japanese school is not, they are not, teaching our juniors about Islam.
So your question is regarding the children.
Yeah. So what are we? Going
the
to
question
think
is regarding the next generation, which is very important, but I think it needs a separate panel discussion, one more for our children. But another 2 minutes we have. Yes. I have no problem to continue up to 12 o'clock. You don't have.
Before 1,400 years ago, Muslim people in Medina, they knew that the earth rotates around the sun, around itself, and then around the sun. Same time in Europe, one scientist said the same thing but in his hand. This proves that ilm is very important. How did they do this? Because they went through the Quran, the book of Islam. So I think our duty is to convey this Quran to our children. Make this plant, put water on it, it grow up, become a big tree, then this tree has many branches, and everybody will branch his home.
Jazakallah. So, just to conclude, in another 2 minutes only, I would request Sheikh Minor to conclude with a brief reply to this question, just 2 or 3 minutes maybe. And at the end, I would request Amiri Circle is with us today. He has come from Ibaraki to come forward for the dua of this majlis.
先ほど日本で抱えている問題は時間がないことだと、時間がないのでどのようにその時間がない忙しい中でイスラムを勉強する時間を作り出したらいいのかということでしたけども、要するに優先順位をどうするかです。優先順位をどうするか。For answering the question, here in Japan, what we are lacking is the time. It's not a matter of where you live in Japan or wherever. It's time. The answer for that is setting priorities. Setting priorities. As long as your priority is seeking for the money, seeking for the richness in this world, you wouldn't have any time at all to learn Islam. But if once you set the priority that you want the happiness, everlasting happiness in the hereafter, in this life and hereafter, then the time is something you would try to make with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ですから優先順位を見極めることで、優先順位が未来永劫に続く、この世だけでなく未来永劫に続く永遠の幸せを得たいということになれば、時間はそもそも自分で作るものですね。アッラーのお助けを借りつつ祈りつつ自分で作るものなわけですから、時間がないとなんて嘆いてはいられなくなります。もう一つ、非常に大事なことですが、皆さんご存知の通り、教育の基本は示すことです。教育の基本は示すことです。ですから私たちの子供たちに、あるいは新しく入信した人たちに、特に子供たちに礼拝しなさい、コルアンを読みなさい、コルアン暗記しなさい、タウムしなさい、ヒジャブかぶりなさいと言ってて、自分がサラーしなかったり、自分がコルアン読んでなかったり、自分がコルアン全然覚えてなかったり、それはどうですか？誰がそれ聞きますか？ You know, as a very matter of fact, everyone knows that the very basement of the education is to show the example. Showing the example is the very basic method of the teaching and education. So no matter how we tell our kids or order our children pray and then recite Quran, memorize Quran, or whatever, then if we adults, if we parents were away from that, if we are not praying properly, if we are not, and we're not trying to memorize Quran, although we are telling them to memorize it, then what kind of children would hear that teaching? Yes, leading by example. As the Prophet ﷺ, how he taught us, when he taught us to pray, صَلُّوا كَمَا رَأَيْتُمُونِي أُصَلِّي. He did not say, صَلُّوا كَمَا أُصَلِّي. He said, pray as you see me praying. He did not say, pray as I pray. We cannot pray as the prayer of the Prophet ﷺ in a very high stage. 預言者ムハンマドさんははっきりと教えてくれてますね。祈りなさい、礼拝しなさい。皆さん方が私を見るように、私を見るように礼拝しなさい。つまり、その示すことでもって教えてくれたわけです。ということで、まずは子供たちに良かれと思うなら、子供たちにムスリムであり続けてほしいと願うならば、私たち大人が、私たち自身が、両親がイスラム命の生き方を選ぶべきではないでしょうか。
I would request Amini Circle Brother Ali to come forward to conclude with dua. And thank you very much for the participants and all listening for the wishes.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair, all brothers who gave the time and gave good knowledge and taught us how important to learn and learning. Just I like to say some few words with our speaking brother. आज का जो असल में डिस्कशन था कि इल्म जो है वो क्यों ज़रूरी है सीखना, सिर्फ मुख्तसर सी बात मैं करना चाहूँगा जो बड़ी देर से मैं करना चाह रहा था कि इल्म जो है वो दो, जिस तरह से हम स्कूल में जाते हैं, कुछ ऑप्शनल होते हैं, कुछ मजमून, और कुछ इख्तियारी होते हैं और कुछ लाजमी होते हैं, जिसको कहते हैं ऑप्शनल एंड कंपल्सरी। तो इस तरह से एक इल्म जो साइंसी इल्म है वो तो ऑप्शनल है, कोई सीखे या ना सीखे, लेकिन जो शरीयत का इल्म है कि अल्लाह उससे क्या चाहता है, अल्लाह का बंदे उससे क्या चाहते हैं, अल्लाह के क्या हुकूक हैं, बंदों के क्या हुकूक हैं, उसके अपने क्या हुकूक हैं, वालिदैन के क्या हुकूक हैं, दीन के क्या हुकूक हैं, वो लाजमी है हर इंसान पे उसका इल्म हासिल करना कि उसको अल्लाह से मिलाना, क्या वो शऊर जो है वो उसके लिए सीखना जरूरी है, वो इल्म जो है उसके लिए लाजमी है। लिहाजा उसके इल्म यानी जो दुनियावी इल्म सीख रहा है उसके लिए भी वो इल्म लाजमी है, और जो बाकी जो दीनी इल्म है वो तो उसके लिए लाजमी जो सीख रहा है। मैं समझता हूँ कि ये इल्म के बारे में जो है ना आज अपना जो है जहन में ये रख लें कि उसके लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है कि उसको औलाद को भी बताना है कि क्या उसके लिए ज़रूरी है, उसको किसने पैदा किया, उसके क्या हुकूक हैं। इसी तरह से तमाम चीज़ें जो हैं वो सीखनी ज़रूरी हैं। अल्लाह ताला हमें इल्म सीखने की तौफीक अता फरमाए। اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. ربنا ظلمنا انفسنا وان لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا. أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. آمين. اللهم فاطر السماوات والارض انت ولينا في الدنيا والاخره. توفنا مسلما والحقنا بالصالحين. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.